Jaeger-LeCoultre is certainly a brand worthy of admiration, especially when you look at the watch industry in its entirety. With their elegantly constructed timepieces and history of producing some of the finest movements for themselves and other leading watch manufacturers, now with over 1,200 calibers having been developed over the years at their Mason. Yet at the core of it all, there is one line of watches, their flagship, that epitomizes their methodology to watchmaking, the Reverso. And I'm lucky enough to have 3 different Reverso models here today that I think do a good job of, for lack of a better term, providing a sampler of what is available within the Reverso line and also giving a nod to this watch's significant history. So let's take a look at these Reversos and jump into the review. So as I mentioned, we have 3 models here. The Reverso Classic Medium, Thin, and Pink Gold, representing the smaller variation of the 3 here. Next, we have the Reverso Tribute Small Seconds, an SIHH 2018 release, and the Reverso Tribute Duo Face, a watch that plays off the Reverso Tribute Small Seconds, but with an exciting twist featuring a contrasting dual face when flipped. However, before we jump into a review of these 3 specific pieces and references, I think it's important to go into the backstory of the Reverso and the design process and where it really stands in history. To properly have appreciation for these watches and tell the story, we have to head back to 1931, a time that was marked by substantial change. 2 of the most important pertaining to the actual watch itself was being a change in social norms when it came to men wearing wristwatches and perhaps the peak of Art Deco design. This compounded with LeCoultre's creation of their 101 caliber 2 years prior in 1929, the smallest mechanical watch movement ever produced, making up 98 parts but weighing in at just a gram, paved the way for more daring attempts in their designs in the future. This next great triumph from the brand would come from an issue brought to the attention by a brand partner of LeCoultre when César Dutré was visiting India and interacted with British officials playing polo, who expressed the struggle of their shattering watch crystals while playing the game. An issue that was only worsened considering many of the pieces of that era had crystals made of glass. Upon hearing this, Jacques David LeCoultre and his partner Edmond Jaeger got to work with the help of French engineer René Alfred Chauveau to help with the construction of the case's execution. And in 1931, there was a patent filed for the watch that we've come to know as the Reverso, a term that would be the only words presented at the 12 o'clock on the dial of the first edition constructed. However, the difficulty in actually creating the model arose from the fact that LeCoultre was not constructing rectangular cases and did not have movements to fit inside the cases until introducing in-house movements specifically designed for the Reverso 2 years later. So in the meantime, the first generation of Reversos were developed from sourcing parts from independent specialists in order to bring the designs to life. The original 1931 model, despite what we know of it as today, was an interpretation of a sports watch for the period. Throughout the 20th century, the Reverso saw highs and lows in terms of popularity. But fast forward to today, this unforgettable design that personified an era now has been ushered into a modern package that spans many different sizes, styles, and complications within, but providing options suitable for nearly every wrist. Which brings us to our models that we have here today, all of which represent 3 interpretations of its design that highlight some of the best value in all of watchmaking. First, the Reverso Classic Medium, Thin, in Pink Gold, with the reference 2542540. A watch that, of the 3 here, best resembles the case dimensions of the original Reverso 1931. In fact, even with its smaller pink gold case, and especially being small by today's standards, it still was slightly bigger than the original model, being 2 millimeters longer than that exact 1931 version. This reference comes with the dimensions of 40.1 millimeters by 24.4 millimeters, and an impressive thickness of just 7.4 millimeters. This achieved thickness can mostly be attributed to the ultra-thin manual winding 822A2, measuring in at just 2.94 millimeters thick, but comprising 108 components, having a 42-hour power reserve, and operating at 3 Hz or 21,600 vibrations per hour. The watch exhibits a level of simplicity, despite the uniqueness of its, of course, flipped case design, featuring 2 sword hands that purvey exquisite execution when matched with the textured finish at the center of the dial, meeting a line minute track, all surrounded by Arabic Art Deco style numerals. Which brings us to our second watch, the Reverso Tribute Small Seconds, a watch that I think is the most wearable of the 3, given the modern standards, and falls at the dimensions of 45.6 millimeters by 27.4 millimeters. This watch comes as well in another slim package at 8.5 millimeters, featuring an 822.2 with many of the same specifications of the movement prior, but with an up power reserve of 45 hours. This watch was a 2018 SIHH release and is perhaps equipped with one of the best looking dials that I have seen on a Reverso especially, as this piece with its long pointed indices, dolphin hands, 6 o'clock sub-seconds, and beautiful colored blue dial that depending on the light gives off many different looks, and again, is really nothing short of spectacular. In that darker light, it's going to have a more vivid blue color that almost turns purple, but then in harsh light, it really will show off that sunburst effect. Both this watch and the classic medium thin in pink gold are accompanied by the traditional riveting of the case, along with that iconic flipping mechanism which engages by pushing and flipping at the hinging point. The undercarriage of the chassis displays different finishing for both of the models, demonstrating the fine attention to detail and even this complicated case design. The reverse side of both of these watch models feature a smooth, polished side, which now, instead of helping with the resistance of getting bashed during a polo match, has really just created an opportunity for engravings, enameling, and personalizing the watch. However, if engraving and enameling isn't your thing, we now have the big brother to the Reverso Tribute Small Seconds with the Reverso Tribute Duo Face, a watch featuring an additional face on the posterior side of the watch that essentially gives it a completely different look depending on the wearer's mood or attire. The idea of the duo face was first introduced by JLC back in 1994 and was a catalyst to the additional momentum for JLC following the negative impacts of the quartz crisis in decades prior. This model, the reference 3988482, featuring many of the same endearing qualities of the Tribute Small Seconds on the frontward facing dial of the watch, but in a larger package with the dimensions of 47 millimeters by 28.3. But still, with this more blown out case, it maintains the same level of proportions and aspect ratio expected with these rectangular cases. But as I hinted at a little earlier, the magic happens when you flip this watch over. We have something truly special, a white dual face featuring a 12 and a 24-hour dial that give the ability to track an additional time zone. So how this works, time setting all takes place using the singular crown. However, when lifting the watch from the chassis, the wearer can activate a trigger at the top of the watch case. That, when pulled, advances the posterior face's dials by 1 hour. All of this is done without stopping the balance, as the seconds will continue to tick away, so you'll have the ability to keep that precise time. The watch is a bit more substantial on the wrist compared to that of its smaller counterparts as a result of that dual face, coming in at 10.3 millimeters in thickness and featuring an 85482 movement and has a 42-hour power reserve. But overall, I think these three watches do a great job of representing what the Reverso line has to offer, as well as how there is a size and model that I think could be best suited for all different types of wrists. As I think there's a lot of people out there that maybe think, the Reverso is not a very big watch, but you do have options out there for larger wrists. However, regardless of what version is for you, know you're getting a piece rooted in functionality dating back to 1931 that has persisted in its ability to effectively maintain its uniqueness through an unconventional but beloved package. So guys, what do you think of the Reverso overall? What do you think of these three watches presented? Do you have a favorite? I'd love to see comments down below. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. These videos with history as well as going over multiple different watches in one review usually take a little bit more time. So that's a good indicator for me if you guys want me to continue to do these and how you like these compared to just a single one-off review of one watch. That would be really good insight from you guys. And guys, if you want to continue to support me in this content, going to our watch strap store on my website is a huge way to help us out. We have amazing watch straps available, have one of the largest inventories actually you can probably find online, and have really worked hard to make that happen. In addition, if you want to add a watch to your collection, check out the link down below. Use that link to go to Bob's Watches, partner of the channel, one of the largest online retailers for used and pre-owned watches, and any purchase also supports this content you're watching. So guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I'll see you all very soon.